What's up, guys? We're here live. I think we are on episode number 7, the Monster Motivator TV, and I'm excited about the story I'm going to share with you today because if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking to start a business, if you're not sure if you should move on your idea, this guy, you want to listen to this guy because it's exactly the path you want to start to take. And I also want to tie in anybody out there in the management position, in a leadership position, whether a CEO, general manager, sales manager, office manager, he's going to have some really great things to share because he's been in those positions for over 20 years. And he's a friend of mine. I've known him for about a year and a half. I know his story really well. I'm excited to share this with everyone. And I'm going to turn it over to, his name is Collin Rand. We are at the TrueX building.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, we're at the TrueX building in Old Town Temecula.
That's right.
And Collin, so give everyone a little bit of overview of who you are, where you came from, and your background.
Yeah, so my name is Collin Rand, and as Dave said, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'd even take that a little further. I'm a restaurateur. I am what they call the managing partner for a new upcoming restaurant coming here to Temecula called the Cuvée Club. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may have not, but we are coming. And it's an upscale restaurant with a classic cabaret venue attached to it. So what I tell people to envision is this 1950s and 60s Rat Pack era supper club where you would come in, enjoy some drinks, a glass of wine, some dinner, and then see some of your greatest entertainment that you can see live in a very intimate setting. And so we're just thrilled that we're going to have something like this here in Temecula because there's really nothing else like it.
Yeah, when he told me about this the first time we met, about a year and a half ago,
yeah.
I was so excited about the idea. Being from Jersey, that's what we know. That's what we
right.
We grew up with, really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. It's brand new out here, but back east, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's all over the place, really. Especially back in that era, the 50s and 60s, you could find them almost anywhere across the country. They're still very prominent back in the East Coast. New York City has them, Washington, D.C., Chicago. A lot of them have gone from like this more sophisticated to like a speakeasy style where it's more relaxed. We're trying to give it a little more high-end. We're going to give it another push of this high-end, world-class service industry feel than just a regular run-of-the-mill type of, you can come and have dinner and see some entertainment.
Just a whole nother level.
It's just classy. It's classy. It's really going to take Temecula to a whole nother level in terms of service industry standards.
Okay. I want to jump into, for the viewers, because this is going to be a huge benefit, a ton of value, and I know this story, that's why I'm excited about it, is how did this even come about? Because see, being an entrepreneur my whole life, right? I always tell people, if you're trying to build the plane, the perfect plane, you're never going to jump off the cliff. You need to jump off the cliff, build a plane on your way down. And I know it sounds crazy, but that's really how it's done. Share the story. I love this story about how this even came about. How did this idea even come about?
Yeah, so there were a lot of outlets where this actually came about. Some of them being, I've been in the restaurant industry for so many years, almost 20 years, and I've opened 21 restaurants in my career, everything from fast casual to fine dining. And so I've really taken the good and the bad and taken the bad and pushed it aside and really created a formula of positive things that have worked for restaurants that I've helped build and create and manage. But that's just part of the story. The other part is I was working in corporate America and trying to build up that corporate ladder. I thought that was the direction I wanted to go. And for part of that, they were requiring of me to go and get my master's. Okay. So I went and got a master's in operations management. Seemed logical, you can almost do anything with a management degree.
Sure.
So the end of that, the whole course to get my master's, though, I had to do something called a Capstone Project. And this Capstone Project was to create a formula based on your knowledge and experience and what you've learned in all of your coursework to create a business, essentially. The Cuvée Club was my capstone project.
Okay.
I went in and said, how is this going to work? How do I make the perfect blend of restaurant industry standards and just come up with something just amazing?
So this was your project for
school.
For your class.
Yeah, for my class.
In order to move forward.
In order to graduate.
Right.
To get my master's
See,
degree.
I love that. I love that.
I had to have this project.
You just never know.
Yeah. And so it was always in the back of my mind that, oh yeah, this would be cool. Well, I submitted it after everything was done. And essentially it was just a full business plan that I had to put together. So everything from how is it going to work, operating hours, staffing, market analysis, marketing plan, menu, everything that you would have in a business plan, even financials were in there. I turned it into my professor and he goes, this is really good. And if you don't do something with this, can I share it with a few people? And I said, no. That gave me that boost of confidence to say, this is something I really need to pursue.
It's something to bite into. How long ago? How long ago was that?
This was almost 2 years ago now.
2 years ago. And I think I met you about a year and a half ago at some business networking in the Inland Empire. And the reason I want to share that story is, you have to look at this and break it down. Now, he put together a complete business plan, but I have a question for him, and I know the answer, but I want to ask this question for everyone out there. So, Collin, you put together from A to Z the most complete business plan. Your professor said it is knocked down, drag out, very good. We would like to move forward with it. But since that time, I know you've really been moving forward in a real strong way. No matter how much you put in that business plan, how many new things came up, right? So I knew I'd get a belly laugh out of him because I know this story, right?
So that business plan that I created about 2 years ago now, I honestly, I don't even know what that looks like anymore.
Okay.
Because it's changed so much. Now, the foundation is the same.
Right.
I have that, upscale restaurant,
sure.
classic cabaret entertainment. That's
the overall,
the overarching component to the concept is there.
But my question to you, right, is really, my question to Collin is there any way that you would be able to put in that business plan everything required to get you even to the next level of this idea?
Absolutely not.
Right?
There's no way.
Right.
There's perfect world and there's reality.
Right.
In my mind.
There's unicorns, pink clouds, and the Easter Bunny.
I hand my business plan to somebody and they go, oh, okay, here's the millions of dollars you need and let's go to work.
Right.
If you have that, congratulations, you're like the one in the million that
and that. Even if you do have that, if you think that you're not going to have all these different obstacles that you can't even imagine coming up, and that's, this is a point I want to get across, and this is the perfect guy to share this with you. Collin, if you so focused on how this was all going to take place, would you think you would have kept moving forward, or did you mainly focus on your why?
It's all about the why. Because if I had focused so much on how, I would have given up months ago.
You would have been intimidated.
Yeah,
right?
I would have been intimidated. I've been intimidated. I'd have been frustrated. I'd have been
overwhelmed.
I would have felt underappreciated. Even as a solopreneur, as a restaurateur and entrepreneur, you working by yourself, you still feel underappreciated for the things that you're trying to bring to the
you
table.
Almost feel like there's times where you feel like you're on an island by yourself, and a lot of times actually you are because this is your baby. Let me share with us, now that we came here, share with us your why. What is your why?
My why is my family.
Okay.
It really is. I have two beautiful boys, and I know that all of us, me, Dave, everyone watching this, people who aren't watching this, we all have a very special purpose here. we need to figure that out. Sometimes it's working for someone else and just providing for our family. Others, it's developing, creating something that's going to change the world. Sometimes it's just being able to provide great service, great food, great entertainment to those people who want it, and that we have that natural talent to do so. But we have to find that why. And me finding my why is motivation for my family, my sons, to know that it's critical for them to do the same.
And I want to I want to highlight some things. His why is not only big enough, but it actually is bigger than him.
Whoa.
And my belief is when your why is bigger than you become unstoppable, right?
Absolutely.
He didn't focus on how to the point where it stopped him from moving forward because, and you tell me if this is true, your why keeps pulling you through those fear barriers. Is that the case?
Anytime I look at my sons, they pull me through a fear barrier. And there's been plenty, trust me. Just the changes in the business plan alone, not to mention the changes in the financials, the changes in partnerships, the changes in locations, all of that has been a struggle from essentially moment one. But there's setbacks and then there's push-throughs. And that why pushes me through, and it pushes me further than the setback ever will. So as long as that why can continue to push you through further than any setback, you're still making progress.
See, and one of the things that keep it right to the point, nice and simple, is when your why becomes bigger than you become unstoppable. But it's the same exact recipe, just different ingredients. He's in an industry that I thought I was going to be a part of, and I realized real quick I had nothing to do with that industry, and I learned real quick, and Collin was a big part of that, helping me out. And that's how we became such good friends. But I want to share with you, it's it's so simple, but just not always easy, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same recipe for me to build my other businesses that you're going through now, just different ingredients.
Absolutely. You know, the why is the common core. Everyone has to have a why. If you don't have a why, there's no reason for you to do it.
It's not going to carry you through.
It never will. Because, but your why and your passion are the two things that will always be the common denominator.
Which are intertwined.
You cannot have anything happen without passion and a why. And the why it doesn't ever have to do anything with the industry you're in. It could be, my sons have nothing to do with the restaurant industry.
Well, you know
but they're still my why.
And when you know this from being around very successful people, most of the CEOs that have big companies will tell you that a big part of their why is their employees. Mm-hmm. See, they take that responsibility on. That if this doesn't work, right? They're not going to be able to feed their family.
Right.
So their why becomes bigger than them. And again, the same recipe. Now, I want to touch on something real important here because I speak on leadership, right? And trust me when I tell you, to be a general manager in a restaurant, if you don't have leadership skills, you are done. It's complete suicide. Is that correct?
I'll take it even a step further.
Okay.
To be in management in the restaurant industry, whether you're a general manager, a third manager, a supervisor, kitchen manager, any part of it, if you're not a little nuts, you're never going to make it. And that's, and I say that a little tongue in cheek, but restaurants aren't for everybody.
Right.
And that's one thing I would try and say to the masses is, if you have a fantasy about a restaurant, talk to somebody with restaurant experience before you decide to go into it. Right?
Oh, that's true.
But that's with any industry though. Like if I were to say to you, Dave, I want to become a public motivating speaker.
Right.
I'm sure you're going to have some reasons why it's great, but then there's also going to be the struggles, the frustrations that you take every single day. And if I don't have the passion to be a part of that, that's going to deter me.
Yeah, your why isn't.
It's not a negative, it's a reality. And we all have to face realities at some point. My reality is this. I'm passionate about the restaurant industry. I have a strong why, and that's going to make me successful. just like Dave's going to be successful and is successful with his motivating speaking.
And, you know, and one of the things that I took, getting back to leadership, right?
Yeah.
Because of the experience you've had over the last 20 years in over 22 restaurants, it comes down, for me, leadership really comes down to some key points. One of them is how to raise your level of awareness in yourself, but also in your team, your organization, because you have to know where to place them, where they're going to benefit the company. Because at the end of the day, in business, we're either winning or we're losing, right? There's no in between.
Oh yeah. There's a saying I like to use sometimes, and it's aces in their places. Right?
Okay.
So you have a staff, and you have one particular person on the staff, and maybe they're not strong in that particular position they're in at that moment. You need to find another place for them. You need to develop them. You need to be able to say, I've done my best to give them the best opportunity in the situation, in the opportunities that I have to give. If you give up on them, that's not leadership. Here's another way that I show leadership. There's management, there's leadership, and there's effective leadership.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
3 different things. Management is this. Management is when you've got a team and you're behind them and you're pushing them. That's just brute force. I'm going to make you do this. Leadership, the next step, is I'm sorry, I totally went the wrong way. Management is you're in front. Management is you're in front and you are telling them, you've got to take me. They're dragging you.
Right.
Okay. Leadership is you're behind them, you're helping them motivate, and you're part of the pushing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're actually involved. So management in front, you're making them do all the work. Leadership in the back, you're helping support them. Effective leadership, you're right in the middle, so that everyone can see you, and you have the most responsibility. They can see what you're doing. You're very transparent. You're very exposed, but you're bringing every single person around you with you.
And that will help raise your level of awareness as a leader, not only in yourself, but in the people around you. Because I'm a big believer, and I want to. I kind of go in reverse when I build a company. I look at my weaknesses. How can I enhance my weaknesses, right?
Right.
And then double down on my strengths.
If you can find, we all have weaknesses, and if you can find partners, employees, team members that can simply modify and enhance your weaknesses to at least come to the par where you're at, you have an effective not only leadership team, but team in general. You don't have to stress as the leader, the CEO, the business owner, you don't have to stress about, I don't know how this is going to get done, because you have team members that know how to do it.
And another big point that I want to bring up for you, Collin, is as a leader, as somebody in charge, what I find in the corporate world is a lot of the corporate people, their mindset is they jump over what I consider the foundation for any business, which is the culture. See, the numbers, the sales team, the training, the customer service, the software, I believe follows the culture of your business. How important do you feel like the culture is in the restaurant industry, especially the high end, like you're talking about?
Culture in any business, any industry, anywhere. If you don't have a good culture that helps create positive experiences that will relay into beliefs that eventually create results for your company.
And creates leaders.
And
right?
leadership, yeah. If you don't have that type of culture in any business, especially restaurants, because we're so fast-paced. I mean, you get into it in a high-end restaurant, we open the dining room for dinner at, let's say, 5 o'clock, and we're not done until 11, and we're busy the whole time. It's a family culture where there's some frustrations, but you know how to communicate with the proper people the right way at the right time. You can take care of it afterwards, and you just get your job done. But the formulation of the culture comes from the leader, and it trickles down. If you let your frontline workers create the culture, it will be nothing but come up, and it's almost cancerous.
Yeah.
In the sense that it becomes negative, it becomes faulty, it becomes punitive.
It becomes weak.
It's weak. If the strength at the top creates the culture, cultural beliefs, and creates experiences and trickles them down, you've got a strong foundation for any business.
And speaking of the restaurant industry, now obviously it's not a high-end, it's the reverse of the high-end restaurant. But out here, my belief is why In-N-Out Burger does so well is because when you walk in, you get greeted with a smile. Anything they can do to help you, they're willing to do that. But that comes from the culture. That comes from the top.
That comes from being again, a strong leader. If you as a leader can come in with a positive attitude and ready to do every single action that you expect any of your employees to do, you have to be able to act on it. You cannot come in and expect them to do something you're not willing to do.
Right.
And if you can do it, they can do it. And then you can set expectations for them. But the standard is, this is what we do every single day, day in and day out. If you have a problem, leave it at the door, or we can talk about it before or after your shift. I want to help you talk about it because I don't want you to hold on to it and linger it. That's another great attribute of a leader, is being able to speak to your employees or your teammates and say, I care about you enough that I want to help take care of whatever it is that you're doing, so that it doesn't affect our guests or our service standards, because this is what we do every single day, and this is what's going to help you and your family.
Yeah, and really what you're saying is you want them to want to be there. One of my proudest times in business is when I had my sports nutrition store, and my employees said they felt like it was their business. Yeah. So when I wasn't there, it still ran the way it needed to be run. And I think anybody that doesn't look at it that way, it's just going to be really, really short-term success.
Yeah, that's creating ownership. In your team, right? And there's a lot of businesses that I've unfortunately had experience with where they do the lip service of, we want you to own your situations, and then as soon as someone takes action on that, they get some type of disciplinary action because they didn't talk to a manager or whatnot. And I'm not saying that you should do that for every single situation. There are definitely situations you want to involve a manager in or a leader in, but when you can establish a culture of ownership for your team and allow your team to make certain decisions that will only affect the business in a positive manner, you become a world-class leader, in my opinion. Yeah,
and now you're creating a scalable business, right? Because you can't do everything, you don't want to do everything, and I use this phrase a lot. I always want to work my way out of a job.
Yeah.
When I'm starting a business, I think about how do I work myself out of a job? Because if you're going to do it all by yourself, be honest with you, you might as well go work for somebody, let them have the responsibility and and take all the heat. You get your check and then you have your time off. Yeah. But if you really want a solid, scalable business, there's only one way to do it, and that's effective, powerful leadership, which comes from an effective, powerful culture, right? And that's really, to me, the foundation of everything in business.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think I would take it another step. Instead of saying, working myself out of a job, it's working myself into another job. Because we as entrepreneurs, we don't ever want to stop working, right? But it's getting into another job, because you brought up a great word, scalable. My plan is for the Cuvée Club to open here in Temecula, California, but eventually we're scaling it so that we can open it in other places in Southern California or across the country or even globally at some point. And that's the long-term process. And so how do I do that? I can't open every single one. I can't be at every single one every single day. I have to scale it and start creating leaders.
Yes.
And the leaders are going to scale this business for me to be able to be general managers, operations directors, regional directors, and so on and so forth, so that we can operate every single Cuvée Club in a very similar standard with culture and operations.
See, and that's why I was so excited about this show today, because it hits every single person out there. Whether you're starting out as an entrepreneur and you got to figure out where your why is, what you do with your idea, right? Yeah. Collin's showing, he's doing it right now. Whether you already have a business, right? And you want to know how to take it to that next level. Well, you have to learn that leadership, effective leadership, will help scale that. It's the only way really to scale your business.
Yeah.
So it hits every single angle. Is there anything that you want to share with us that we didn't talk about that you want people to know?
Don't let fear drive your result. Fear is fictional. There's two words that start with F that I love. It's faith and it's fear, and they can never coexist. And if you have faith in yourself, now faith is not just, I firmly believe faith is an active word. Faith is not something just here, it's in your actions too, okay? You have faith that something will work, so you're going to put the work into it. You're going to get up every single morning. You're going to change your business plan. You're going to change your motive. Your why may change every once in a while. My why from my sons, that will always be a why, but I can add to that. Once I have employees and the restaurant opens, my why becomes bigger and bigger. Allow that to happen, and that is faith. But as soon as you let fear creep in, that faith goes away. You cannot have them coexist. They cannot coexist. Faith and fear cannot be together.
So that's a great point, and I'm a big believer in, look, motivation's important, but I want to leave you with real practical steps on how to do that, right? So it's easy to say, we all heard this, face your fear and it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
Well, there's much more to it when you take off those layers. So if we break down your journey, even up to this point, and where you see yourself going, I think we're really onto something with this 5-step formula that I created. It's called. I renamed it, guys, and it's what I renamed this because it has to do with your fear barriers and growing in business and in life. We're going to call it the Bully Buster because fear barriers are your bully, right? And if you don't step up, what's going to happen? You're going to keep getting bullied.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to bully you right back into safety.
Yep.
So would you say this is accurate for your journey up to this point? Your why, you identified your why. Now, the second step is you identified your goals, right? And they do scare and excite you at the same time, right? So you have long and short-term goals, and you're taking that action to keep moving you forward. And this, Collin, again, I know the answer to this, but I want him to explain. The fourth step is I call the game changer, but it's so underutilized, underappreciated, and misrepresented is your self-talk. What are you telling yourself on a daily basis? What is your team members telling themselves on a daily basis? How important is that through this journey when you really get into that darkness?
Yeah. We've all been a part of a team meeting where we get this rah-rah motivation like, we can do this, we can do this. You have to remember that the most important person in your team right now is you. And what you need to do is you need to be able to tell yourself what you need to hear to continue moving forward. That may be as simple as get out of bed and get to your laptop. Or it could be, we've got to get prepared for this meeting in 20 minutes and you've got 10 minutes to do it. Let's do it. It's talking to yourself in a positive manner and saying what you need to hear positively. Don't let the audio tape or the CD or the recording in your head, whatever it is, that's saying you shouldn't be doing this or this is too much, because it's not too much. It's never too much, because this is what you have in your passion, in your heart, and you've got a why to do it.
So before we wind up, Collin, let's. There's a question out there.
Okay.
And they want to know, where is the location of the restaurant going to be? Do you have anything set up right now?
Okay, that's a great question. I appreciate that. We're working with. We're here at the Truex building here in Old Town Temecula, California, right now. We are in a partnership with the Truex Development Group. They've got a beautiful building here. It's a 4-story building. And we are looking to partner with them in one of their projects. It may be here in this Truex building, but they've got some other developments that they're working on. They just announced the Truex Hotel, which will be on 3rd Street from Front Street to Mercedes Street. Big, beautiful hotel. And that there may be an opportunity for us there as well. But we are working close with the Truex Group. You can follow us on our website as we update. Follow us on Facebook. We have a group called The Cuvée Club, and our website is www.thecuvée.com. the Cuvée, which is Cuvee club.com.
That's awesome. And Terry Williams, I want to make sure I throw a shout out to Terry. She's just a faithful friend out there in the Facebook world. And you're right, Terry. Face your fears, and they will disappear. Especially when you use those steps, because now you're having real practical, real life steps to move you forward instead of we always hear just face your fears and they're going to disappear. There's a little more to it, as Terry knows. But you're right. The only way to grow is to get outside that comfort zone, stay outside that comfort zone, and keep moving forward. And that's exactly what Collin's doing. That's why I wanted to share that story with you. Is there anything else that you want to share with everyone out there before we wrap it up?
Take your step off the cliff. If you take your step off the cliff, something will catch you, and it's usually yourself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. And guys, if you have any other questions, hit us up on Facebook. Collin would love to handle any of the questions pertaining to the Cuvée Club. Yeah. And keep an eye, follow him on social media. Keep an eye on what's going on, because this is going to change Temecula and the Inland Empire, and eventually the whole country, and possibly global down the road. So you're getting a sneak peek behind the curtain, and this is the guy. So thanks so much, guys, for tuning in, and we're going to see you on the next episode this week. And make sure that you make it happen.